How's it going, world? I wanted to hop on here. I had a couple of requests from some of you out there, both in my free group and in my private group, and this happened to just work out really nicely. I want to talk about something that I think a lot of golfers struggle with. And so before we get into it, let me ask you this, and let's just see if this makes sense for you. If you are a golfer, do you lunge towards the golf ball? Do you lose your balance? Do you lose your posture during your swing? Do you end up shanking the ball? And do you want to improve your ball striking? Well, that's exactly what this video is all about. So if that sounds like you, let's go ahead and get into it. For those of you that are watching live, go ahead, hashtag live. For those of you that are watching on the replay, hashtag replay. So hashtag live if you're watching live, hashtag replay if you're watching on the replay. So like I said, this came in by request, so I want to talk about a couple of really important things here. So first things first, let's understand what it is we're talking about. Let me get this. Beautiful. So what we're talking about in this video is something called early extension. Now, I know you can't see all of me, but that's okay. Let's just pretend that the ball was here, and let's just say throughout the swing, I move forward. So what we call early extension. We make our swing. On the downswing, we come towards the ball. Right, so the hips come forward this way rather than clearing this way. Super common. That's why, after all, we're making this video. So a lot of you guys struggle with this. So first thing I want to talk about is identifying if this is something that you're probably dealing with. And outside of getting your camera out and filming your swing, if you guys want to learn how to get your camera out and film your swing and identify this along with many other golf faults, go ahead and download my book. Looks like I forgot to put a link in right now. I'll put the link in after. But for those of you watching that want it, book.mobilitasathletics.com. You can get a free copy of that. And it'll show you how do you set up your camera, how do you film your swing. Here's all the swing compensations or faults that you might see. Here's how to identify it, and here's how to potentially fix it. But today we're talking about early extension, because I've had a lot of you reach out and say, hey, my calves are tight. I'm lunging towards the ball. My ball striking's off. They all have to do with each other in one sense or another. So here's the first thing that I want you to do just to test it. There's a direct correlation between what we just talked about and ankle range of motion. So what I want you to do is get into a lunge like I'm in right now, where the knee is over the heel, and we're going to take your hand, your fist, if you will. Your fist is typically about 4 inches wide, and we're going to stick it out in front of us, right beyond the toes, and put golf club. So now my golf club is just about 4 or 5 inches beyond my toes. The goal is, can we get the knee to touch the club without the heel coming off the ground? Fist width beyond the toes. Can we get the knee to touch the club without the heel coming off? Some of you may go to do this, and this happens. Very normal. Some of you may do this, where your butt comes out to the side. If the butt comes out to the side, if the heel comes off the ground, you probably have something tight going on down here. When we can resolve this, typically we can resolve that early extension move. And there's 3 pieces that go into this. First, we have to re-lengthen the muscles of the calf and the tendons of the heel cord. Then we need to reactivate those tissues with their new range of motion. And then we need to retrain them how to work, connects the brain to the body. So there's 3 pieces going on here. That first step is just the test to see if your ankles are tight. There's a very good chance that they are, especially if you wear shoes where the heel is higher than the toe. That's a whole different video for a different day. Now, to go through this first piece, you could get some equipment. It could come in the form of a mobility stick or a foam roller. If you guys want to a video on how to use these. I put together a free training in my free group on how to do that. The 3 techniques you need to know to get the most out of 90% of mobility tools. I'll post a link to that in the description as well. But instead of using a mobility stick, instead of using the foam roller, I'm going to show you how to use a golf club. So if you're watching this and you're a golfer, chances are you can just use this to get the job done. What we're going to do is we're going to take this club and we're going to press it behind our leg, starting pretty low where the heel cord is. Let me roll these up. I like to hold it with both my palms facing forward, and I trap my leg with my thumbs, and it looks something like this. Now, there's a couple of things that we can do. For those of you that saw my video on the 3 techniques you need to know about using the foam roller, here's the first one. The club is going to stay still, and I'm going to move my foot. It's going to look something like this. I'm pressing the club into the back of my leg, however much pressure is appropriate for me, and I'm moving my foot straight up and down. You may find it wants to go off to the side. That's okay. But I also want to see if you can go straight up and down. Work through any tight spots. Take your time. Go slow. Once you can go straight up and down, then sure, let's try going off to the side. Let's do some circles, but can we go straight up and down? Then move the club slightly higher. And repeat, straight up and down. It might want to wobble. You do your thing. Work a little higher, work a little higher, work a little higher, work a little higher. It's not uncommon to need 2 to 5 minutes per leg. Start at the heel cord, work your way up towards the knee, use the club. If we're using something like a mobility stick, you can do the same thing. If you're using something like a foam roller, let's just imagine for a second this is on the ground, lay your foot straight up and down. The concept is still the same. The next piece is we can then zigzag back and forth or scrape up and down, really get those tissues open. That's a little bit more comfortable with something like a stick that rolls, kind of like a rolling pin, and you can use a rolling pin or you can do it with a foam roller. Again, the technique is the same. What you're using, whether it's a club, whether it's a stick, whether it's a roller, that doesn't necessarily matter. Just listen to the concepts of what we're doing. So it's going to take 2 to 5 minutes per leg just to get those tissues to break up, like you're giving yourself a very deep massage. This is great. That's step 1. Step 2, now that these tissues have broken up and we've started to give them the opportunity to increase the range of motion. So think of it as these tissues were locked. Now they're free. When they're free, they're able to slide and glide. Now, if we don't take the time, if we don't use this window of opportunity, which I write about in my book, to reactivate these tissues in their new range of motion, they're just going to take them right back up. So we're going to do something called a classic calf stretch. I'm going to prop my foot up against something, keep my knee locked out. I'm going to move my hip forward. I don't care how far my chest goes. That does not matter. I'm going to move my hip forward. I'm going to feel the tissue on the back of my leg here start to stretch out. Knee locked, foot propped up, forward with the hip. I can't go any farther. When I can't go any farther, I'm going to start to press my heel into the ground. I like to ideally do this somewhere like a squat rack at the gym where I can pull myself forward. That's awesome. If not, you can use a golf club to push yourself forward. But now I'm pushing my heel down to the ground and I'm breathing. About 60 seconds, 90 seconds, 2 whole minutes here to reactivate those tissues, right? So step 1, let's smash them out, let's roll them out, let's get them supple, let's get those adhesions to break up. Step 2, we need to reactivate it. We need to prop the foot up, press the heel down, and breathe. This is a power stretching technique utilizing that window of opportunity. If you don't understand these terms, again, just download my book. I wrote about all of it in there. This is just a functional way to fix it. Now, done 2 of the 3 steps. The last piece is we need to reprogram from the mind to the body how this works. So we need something like a wall. The problem that we started with here is that during our swing, we were moving forward. We're doing this during the golf swing instead of this. So we need to reprogram that, keeping our feet flat on the ground. So what do? Let me get this just a little higher so you guys can see me, as long as you can still see my butt on the wall. Butt touches the wall, golf posture. You don't have to have a club. You could either put your arms across your chest, you can put them on your thighs, whatever's most comfortable for you. But we're going to practice backswing. My right cheek is on the wall. My left cheek just started to curl off. Oh, almost knocked over the picture. Both cheeks. Both cheeks. Right cheek, both cheeks. Right cheek, both cheeks. Then we're going to rotate. Right cheek comes off. Rotate. Feet stay flat on the ground. We're retraining how to, instead of do this, early extension, we're going to do clear. Clear. Now, this is super important to do it in this process, because if we just skip ahead to the drill on the wall there, your tissues are still tight, they're still short, they're still stiff. You can train a better pattern, but why not use that window of opportunity? Let's lengthen the tissues of our calf. Let's reactivate them so that those new end ranges are ready to go, and then reprogram the motion. What you're going to find is this is a more effective way to reprogram this into this, while at the same time improving your overall range of motion. If you improve your mobility, you will get stronger and faster at the same time while reducing your chance of injury. So to recap, if you lunge towards the ball, if you lose your balance, if you lose your posture, if you shank the ball, and if you want to just overall improve your ball striking, there are 3 steps that you need to take. 4 if you count the assessment. The first one, or step 0, is just see if your ankles are tight. That being said, they probably are. So if you watch back in this video, I show you how to check your ankle, what we call dorsiflexion, or how much your ankle can hinge. That's step 0. It's just so you can see, okay, before and after, how much change can I make? But chances are really good that they are tight. Step 1, roll out your calves, smash out your calves. Do what you need to do to get those tight tissues to start to break up to create some space. Once they're there, step 2 is get them to stretch and reinforce through a power stretching technique. And then step 3 is reprogram the motion that you're trying to fix. And then if you wanted to, you go back, you retest against your baseline, and you've seen that there is change. So for those of you wondering, how do I improve my calves? How do I improve my golf swing? How do I improve all of these wonderful things? That's how you do it. I hope you guys saw some value in this. I'm going to post the link to my book. Again, I cover all of this in a lot more detail. These training videos just supplement everything that's in there. So if you want to know the why of what we're doing, it's all in there. It's free. I will talk to you guys soon. Go out and play some amazing golf.